us on Geek Blood, the show you can't ignore. Wayne and Kevin diving deep into all things galore. Comic book, movie, sci-fi, and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real, real. Reminiscing the attitude era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blood forever, we love it so much. Geek Blood, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blood, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? Let's messed up right. Geek Blood, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us in every week, we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
Hey, what's going on?
What's happening?
Not much, not much. We are recording on November 1st. We're out of the Halloween spooky season.
Yep.
Let's start off this week with a beginning of the month show and tell. So many geeky things that we could pull off from the shelf. We've been collecting shit for years and now we're whipping it out. So it's time to showcase all the money that we wasted well. C'est la vie, say the old folks. It's Geek Club Show and Tell. I'll go first. Got a few vinyls I bought recently. One's an older one, one's a newer one. I'll show you the newer one.
Oh, nice.
Wolverine. That. 2 LP sets. And I got an older one. One of my favorite things in the world.
Hamilton?
Yep. The Hamilton vinyl 4 LP set. Nice, cool, thick case. I love vinyl. I like that big album artwork because growing up having the CDs, not being able to actually see the detail. But
yep.
Yeah. What do we got, Kevin?
I just got 8-bit
Oh,
Link.
nice. I like that.
It's one of the few things I have left that I've not shown on the show from the shelf. Because I'm still at my parents' for another day. So I have more stuff at my house, but that's my 8-bit Link.
Nice. Yeah, I like little things like that. Little knickknacks. I love that. Let's get into what we watched this week. We watched a few finales. We watched a couple of episodes of television. We're going to break those down. Only Murders in the Building had a finale this week. Out of all the seasons of Only Murders in the Building, this is on the lower end. I will say that. Still good. However, they're kind of at a standstill right now. They've had some really great seasons. It's just kind of a whimper. There's a really cool... Every season ends with a death setting up the next season, pretty much. There's a cool one that happened in this episode that's going to set up next season, which has already been announced. And they're back at the building in New York City, so that's where the setting's going to be next year. Good show. If you haven't seen it, it's on Hulu. You watched Superman. We're going to talk about that next week. You have caught up on Shrinking. Episode 4 came out this week. Did you end up catching up on the whole entire Shrinking?
Yeah, I watched all 4
season?
episodes on yesterday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, we can finally talk about Brett Goldstein and how he shaved his fucking beard to be in this role to differentiate himself from Roy Kent from Ted Lasso. In this season, he is playing the guy who got into a accident and killed Jason Segel's wife. And if you've seen Shrinking, the whole show is about Jason Segel living with his daughter, trying to regain that relationship after her mother and his wife had died in a car accident. Well, we finally meet the guy that the accident happened, why it happened, and Brett Goldstein is playing that character. I cannot wait to see this confrontation. It's been hyped up a lot this season. His best friend, who had the wedding the first season, met him at the end of this last episode. So he's going to be talking to him, and we'll see what's going to happen going forward. But it's great. If you've not seen the show, Kevin prefers it sometimes over Ted Lasso, right? I mean, you pretty much said
Overall,
last
I like
season
it more
was-
than Ted Lasso. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. It's on Apple TV Plus. If you don't have it,
I think
it's $9.99 a month now.
I
or
think
something
first
like that.
season of Ted Lasso clears the show, but
Yeah.
1 and 2 have so far been better than every other season except for season 1 of Ted Lasso. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. It's just a great series. Shrinking. If you've not seen it, Jason Segel, the guy who was the neighbor in Married with Children. Jefferson. He's in this. Bill Lawrence did it. He did a whole bunch of like Desperate Housewives. He did Ted Lasso, of course. He's done a whole bunch of shows throughout the years. So there's a lot of people that he worked with throughout the years that are in this. Like I can't remember her name, but she's one of the leads in it too. But overall, great show. Agatha All Along had a finale last night, 2 nights ago. I really love this show. I think it hit the landing. I think as far as MCU shows, it probably goes WandaVision, this, and then Loki. Loki was number 2 for me. I just like the story, especially the last episode, which is kind of like a bottled episode. It was a flashback episode. I know you watched some of it earlier. Have you caught up on Agatha at all?
No, I saw the clips of that kid, and that kid cannot act his way out of a fucking nutsack.
I'm so surprised because everybody loves him as Billy. I love him
I've
as
seen
Billy. I think
nothing but
he's
hate
great.
in how bad he is
Really?
as an actor. Yeah.
Maybe it's
that's all I've
because
seen
you're on the
today.
Snyder. You're
And
on the
the-
Snyder end of Twitter.
No.
I'm on the MCU
Not
version.
at all.
I haven't seen
I've seen
anything but
nothing
love
but
for Joe Luck. I thought it was great.
I've heard
Episode
the
8.
finale was terrible, so I want to hear your thoughts on it.
The finale was awesome. And episode 8 was the end of the road. Agatha has her full powers back. Billy is fully awakened and complete with a superhero spandex, which has been the trope for all of these shows, or practically all these movies, where if a teen from the Young Avengers is brought in, eventually towards the end you're going to be seeing the superhero spandex, and that is no exception to this. He comes flying in with the superhero spandex. What do I have for? I don't even know what I have for slides. I know I have some, but this is basically what we're going to get into now in the second episode. But to save Billy from Rio, Agatha literally has a kiss of death. So there's a full-on lesbian kiss scene in this episode. And the big reveal is that Billy created the Witch's Road. It was all completely done, shaping reality unknowingly like his mother did, but almost like a stronger version of that in a grander scale. And then episode 9 went way, way back to the origin of Agatha. In 1750, a flashback where she's pregnant in the woods, and all of a sudden she starts to give birth, and she's all alone in the woods, and she sees Death out of the corner, who is, of course, you found out the last episode that Death was Aubrey Plaza's character, Rio. And she pretty much tells her, without telling her, is that you're going to die here giving birth, and you're going to lose your son. And she's just, give me more time. So Death obliges, gives her more time, and her son, she names Nicholas Scratch. Nicholas Scratch, being named. I mean, Nicholas Scratch is a name known for the devil. It's been around for years and ages. But for this instant, the name means that the baby was made from scratch. Is what she said. But eventually, Death does come to collect his soul. And she's about 8 or 9 years old, and she ends up taking him while Agatha and him are sleeping in the woods. And it's very heartbreaking. You also find out that her son was the author of that whole song, the Witch's Road song they've been playing throughout the series so far. And Agatha turned that childhood lullaby almost into a siren to get other witches to join a secret coven. And then she would steal all of their powers, killing millions or probably thousands of witches in 300, 400 years to gain their powers to live as long as she has. And then the song became in the show in canon, started to become popular in pop culture and so on and so forth. So he becomes like a vampire of witches. The ghost of Agatha, at the end of this episode, she does die. She had the kiss of death in the last episode. She does die. And you do see the ghost of Agatha, and that's the picture I have up there now. And that is a comic book accurate thing that happened in the last few years. She becomes like a mentor to the Scarlet Witch. And this is all speculation of where this show is going to go, but every rumor has been that there's going to be a Scarlet Witch solo movie. And I can see that. I could also see the Vision Quest show kind of warping this as well. But yeah, Billy at the end of this episode and Agatha's ghost go off to try to find Tommy, who he kind of had a little vision of Tommy. Tommy is somewhere drowning, being bullied, and this soul of his brother is going to be going into this kid. I can't remember the comic book origin of Tommy, but I know the same thing kind of happens. What happened with Billy in this episode, the soul goes into him, so on and so forth. Great episode. I really did like this show. Number 2 in the Marvel shows for me so far. What else do I have for pictures I wanted to show? Oh, yeah, I really like the way they did the practical effects on Aubrey Plaza's death. And that is Jennifer Kale. She is the lone surviving witch that lasted, besides Joe Locke. She's the only witch that lasted the Witch's Road. She survived, and she has a lot of connections compared to all the other witches who did pass. She has a lot of connections to the outside Marvel universe. For one thing, her origin is in the Everglades, so she has a lot of connections with Man-Thing, which we saw in a couple of years ago on Halloween in the what was that show? Werewolf by Night. So we're not sure we're going to see him there. We may see Man-Thing again in Midnight Suns, where she also has a connection. She was a member of the Midnight Suns, and she's the cousin of Johnny Blaze, who is Ghost Rider. I'm not sure if any of this stuff will happen in the MCU, but that is her comic book origin. She has a little bit more of a beefy role in the comics than all the other witches that kind of passed, that died on the road. So it's understandable why she was the lone survivor. Also, here's the picture that you're talking about of Billy with his comic book accurate outfit. However, it is completely comic book accurate. And I really did like this episode. I really did like him. I liked the whole cast. I liked the way it turned out. I'm looking forward to seeing the Vision Quest show and seeing where everything's going to go from here. Let's talk into something that I know you're going to enjoy, something I know you're going to love. The Penguin.
Yep.
Number 1, episode 6. It's snowing in Gotham. We've been talking about how great would it be in Batman 2 if it's snowing, and that's the setting. That was the rumor, of course, and Mr. Freeze is the villain. That's kind of that I've been saying I want to see. I want to see a grounded Mr. Freeze story. I think he could. I think Matt Reeves could do that. As Sophia and Sal send a message, Oz says, "Fucking Mork and Mindy are flexing." I loved that line. Vic protects Oz at one point of this. He's I don't remember why I wrote that down, but Sophia, at the end of this episode, big spoiler, ends up finding Vic and Oz's mom.
Yep.
And that's setting up this is the biggest cliffhanger of the show so far. Setting up a big thing of episode 7 coming out this Sunday, which is called Top Hat, which is why I have that picture there, is because the iconic top hat on the Penguin will be showing an appearance, because the one on the right was a spy shot of the episode being filmed. So, very excited. The show's been really, really, really good. Some saying the best DC television show ever. Haven't had a lot to really judge that on anyway, but yeah, it's great. I'm glad that I'm glad we have 2 great shows. I'm glad the comic books are hitting the television and doing a great job on that. Yesterday was the last day of Halloween season. Watched some movies. Going to briefly talk about them. I revisited the M. Night Shyamalan's 2 of his better movies, especially one of his, probably the better movie, was The Sixth Sense, 1999. Of course, Haley Joel Osment, little child star. Now he looks like a gremlin, but Bruce Willis, I See Dead People. Everybody knows the story. If you haven't seen it, you're living under a rock. I want to bring up a couple of things. Number 1, Donnie Wahlberg's we don't talk about this enough. His transformation in this movie from pop star in the early 90s to the late 90s being this drugged out, very thin, very tweaked out guy that ends up killing Bruce Willis's character. Spoiler. It's unbelievable. Like, a lot of people, when they realize, holy shit, that's Donnie Wahlberg from New Kids on the Block. Yeah. And it's just incredible to know that. The other thing, as far as rewatchable movies, like when there's a big twist involved, do you think this is one of those movies, like this could be the best rewatchable movie where you can go back and see where that twist always happened? Like, when you find out he's dead at the end, you go back and see, oh yeah, he was kind of talking to his girlfriend, or his wife, but the wife wasn't interacting with him. And there was like no interactions with actual humans. The only one he was interacting with was Haley Joel Osment. There's a lot of movies like that. I think for me, The Sixth Sense may be of all time. The other one recently we just talked about, Fight Club. That's another one. You go back and watch that. The
top three twists of all time are Usual Suspects #1 by far.
Yep.
And
yeah,
probably
definitely.
this or Fight Club. I think it's #1.
Yeah.
I don't think there's Usual Suspects by far, and then 1 and then 2 and 3 are probably this and Fight Club. In my life,
because you're right. You go back and you see Kevin Spacey's character in Usual Suspects, and you're like, holy shit, yeah, you're right about that. The other thing I watched Signs. This is Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix. This is right after Gladiator. Abigail Breslin, she was young, and Rory Culkin, the other Culkin. This is a pretty decent movie, but it's all about aliens. It's all about aliens landing on Earth and how humans interact, especially if you're living in a rural area of Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. But decent movie. It's one of those things, like, M. Night has a 50-50 chance of having a good movie, especially modern day. And going in watching this, I realized there's a movie I've never heard of. I asked you about it, I think yesterday, called The Visit. And I know it looks very spooky and weird. I don't know what the hell I don't know what it's about. But I'm gonna look into it. It came out in 2016, I believe, and Catherine Hahn is in it, which is kind of weird. I was watching Agatha, and that movie came up this week. But I'm gonna look into that. We may talk about it in a future episode. A couple other movies I watched. The Witches of Eastwick, 1987. Never saw this. Directed by George Miller. This was his follow-up to Mad Max, the Mad Max trilogy. Music by John Williams, and I love shit like that. So we're going to talk about John Williams next week. But starring Cher, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Jack Nicholson. I thought the acting in this was superb. Story was okay. For an 80s movie, I could see if I had watched this when I was younger, I probably would have loved it more. Another movie that came out in 1990, The Witches, produced by Jim Henson, his last project. He was working on this right before he died. And it was adapted from a book by Roald Dahl, so you kind of get that feeling like when you're watching this, it feels a lot like Roald Dahl movies like the BFG and Wonka, of course. But starring Angelica Houston and Rowan Atkinson, who is, of course, Mr. Bean. Decent movie. Very, very Disney-like, very good. Today, I actually watched The Burbs starring Tom Hanks. I don't know if this is really considered a horror movie. There's a lot of weird suspense of it, but I wanted to watch it before Halloween was over. Never saw it. Very good. Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, Corey Feldman, Bruce Dern, a couple of character actors that you would recognize in other things if you saw them in this movie. I thought it was pretty good. It's all about the suburban life, living in the suburbs, and some crazy shit goes down, and they think there's some people, a new neighbor that's moved into the suburb that is murdering people. So they're sneaking into their house, and very cool. And this movie, I've been waiting to talk about it all week because I was talking about Conjuring for the last couple of weeks. And James Wan, and this is produced by him, directed by David S. Sandberg, who did Shazam 1 and 2. We just talked about him. And Annabelle Creation, produced by James Wan, of course. Lights Out 2016. This movie is very good, terrifying as hell. I love movies where the surround sound plays a huge part if you have a surround sound in your house, plays a huge part of the film. I can't think of any other movies that are like this, but I was literally watching TV last night. I text you, and all of a sudden, I thought they were scratching. What the fuck? I have cats, so I think, what the hell are the cats doing? And what are they doing? and then it comes right out of the left of my ear, so it's like right there, but it's not the cats, it's the fucking speaker. And in this episode, in this movie, there's this kind of like this little girl who gets she was like they're making it seem like she's like a demon or something, and she ends up getting murdered and she becomes a ghost, and it's very terrifying when the lights get shut off, she shows up. When the lights go on, she disappears, and she also can control the light, shuts off the light, shuts off a whole entire house grid. Very good. Starring Tessa Palmer. She was in Warm Bodies, I Am Number 4, Take Me Home Tonight, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Hacksaw Ridge, which I haven't seen. Maria Bello, History of Violence, she was great in that. Grown Ups, Prisoners, she was great in that. Another James Wan, like, the way he plays his budget and then the box office afterwards, $4.9 million budget, $149 million box office, but it benefited directly from the success of Conjuring 2. So yeah, that was it for my Halloween watch. Did you end up watching anything that you haven't watched, or your regular watch for Halloween of what you would normally?
I've been watching stuff throughout
Halloween
the month, but
yeah. Anything you wanted to talk about briefly? Maybe a new movie
nah,
that I don't know
classics
about.
I've been watching.
Just the classics, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about all about classics next year. Going further into Stephen King, Hitchcock, the classics, the black and whites. A lot of black and whites next year. Idiocracy. Elections on Tuesday. 2007. Produced, written, and directed by Mike Judge. I thought this movie was okay. As somebody who loves, I know you love Office Space. I love Office Space. Very, very weird movie. And yeah. I don't think it did well. And I also don't think I don't think it was in the theater for long, if at all. Maybe it was a direct to video. I don't know. I don't know really much about it other than it stars Luke Wilson, Maya Rudolph, Dax Shepard, Terry Crews, Scarface, who of course was on the soundtrack to Office Space. Justin Long had a quick cameo. Just a lot of cameos, a lot of character actors again that you've seen and know from a lot of other things. But about this guy who's in the army, he's kind of a doofus in the army, gets recruited to do this secret mission to be frozen and be woken up a few years later. However, the government shuts everything down, the program gets shut down, and his cryogenic chamber gets lost in time for 500 years. And they don't wake him up until 500 years later, and the whole world has gone to shit. And it's all dumbed down. Terry Crews is the president, that's all you need to know. I can't remember, Machacho or something was his name. It's very, very weird. Decent, okay movie. However, Hoosiers, the basketball movie, we're in November. I really did love this movie. This is a classic movie. It's on top of a lot of people's sports lists, never mind basketball movies. But I thought, you have number one, Gene Hackman, who is amazing. You have Dennis Hopper, which we've been talking a lot of shit about lately because of his 10-year run of shitty movies. This is right in the middle of those shitty movies because he did a great job playing a drunk in this. He played kind of an assistant to the coach in Hoosiers. I thought this was great. Set in 1951 in Indiana, about an Indiana high school basketball team. Gene Hackman coming into this school and trying to turn this team around, and it was great. I just loved it. And next week I think we're going to talk about Above the Rim. I don't know. I can't remember. We'll talk about it at the end. Came out this week on Disney Plus. I have not watched it. Hearing great things about it. The John Williams documentary is on there now. If you have not watched it, we're going to talk about it next week. With that being said, let's get into the news. And it's not a news segment without the trailer roundup. This trailer is so fucking weird. Did you end up running into this trailer at all online?
Yeah,
the Invisible Raptor.
I didn't watch it, but I saw it being talked about.
It is so fucking weird. It's basically a horror movie with an invisible monster. That's basically all it is. It looks weird. Of course, it's got Samwise from Lord of the Rings in it. Sean Astin. But it looks so fucking weird. Today, the trailer for Squid Game Season 2 came out. I don't know if you caught that or not. But I didn't understand much of it because I did not watch season 1. I will be trying to watch it before December when this debuts. But I do like the guy who played in The Acolyte. He's the lead of this show. So
Yeah, he's good.
I'm interested. But also this morning, we got a new trailer for Skeleton Crew, which
Yep.
it was proven today that this movie is basically Goonies in space. They're literally kids getting on a starship, getting lost in space, meeting a Jedi, and so on, and crazy shit happens. It does look decent though, different though, and it's weird to see a Star Wars movie with modern day music throughout the trailer. It's weird because we're so used to having that so John Williams scored or having that in a universe bubble that you don't get the outside stuff in. But excited for it. I mean, I was excited for Acolyte too. There was some hit and misses with that, of course, but I do like Jude Law, and I like Nick Frost is playing one of the robots in this too. So, well, we'll have to wait and see. Last week's box office, Venom won the box office, $51 million. Smile 2, 9.4. Wild Robot, 6.5. Wild Robot still doing great in the theater. Venom Last Dance had $124 million in the international box office, making $175 million globally. So yeah, doing great for theaters right now. I think this year's been pretty good for theaters, but a lot of movies have not done well because I think the pandemic ruined that for a lot of things. It's just easier to watch at home. Everybody bought big TVs too.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people are going to theaters unless it's a big event movie like for something like Deadpool, Wolverine, or kids movies are doing great too. Animated movies. I think I read today that the Moana movie is tracking to be the biggest movie of the year. So. Speaking of movies and how it's dumbed down a little bit, Variety posted an article about the average global gross of movies from 2000 to 2024, and as you can see by this chart, the peak was 2012 when the Avengers came out. Dark Knight Rises came out that year, I think, and then 2019 is when Endgame came out. Deadpool came out. I think Spider-Man came out that year too, so that was the 2 huge years. Pandemic happened 2020, dropped right down, and we're about a third of what we were in 2019 as far as global box office is concerned. Not doing the numbers it was, also not having the output. This is kind of one of those years we had the post-COVID, plus we had this post-strikes. We've always talked about 2025 is going to be the year for everything, not just Marvel, not just DC, but it's going to be like the catch-up year of everything that's been delayed over time in TV and movies. So, yeah, this is from Box Office Mojo, but in Variety. But Terry Garr, rest in peace. She was 79 years old, had MS, mother in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, mother in Mr. Mom, Young Frankenstein, Tootsie. She was in a lot of 80s, 70s movies that we grew up on. Rest in peace to her. Robert Downey Jr. this week was on a podcast or something, or an interview or something, talking about how he intends to sue all future executives who create an AI replica of him after he passes. And he also said that when asked what happens after you die, he said, "Well, my lawyers will still be being paid with my legacy money." So. Yeah, I can see that. I know we talk about it all the time, AI. James Earl Jones was one of those odd cases where he gave the rights to, I believe, only Disney to use his likeness for Star Wars going forward perpetually. But Joaquin Phoenix revealed this week that he talked to Christopher Nolan about playing the Joker in The Dark Knight. I can't imagine what it would be if we didn't have Heath Ledger's performance in that film. I don't know whether Christopher Nolan was coming to me saying, "You're definitely the person." I can't remember the context of how we met, but I know we met. My feeling was I shouldn't do this, but maybe he was also like, he's not the guy. I'm glad that he waited because we got probably my favorite iteration of a comic book character on screen with Heath Ledger. So I'm glad that we.
I don't know.
I'm glad that we waited.
Why it took this long for Joaquin to say anything. This is the second Joker movie, and it's just coming out on digital. So, like, he didn't mention this during any of the press for Joker 1 is kind of odd. I'm sure it was probably just a conversation, with Christopher Nolan, and that's pretty much as far as it went, is my guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing too. Got the first glimpse of Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen in that Bruce Springsteen Nebraska biopic that they're doing. He looks on the left almost identical to Bruce in the early '80s. So very cool. Came out today that Eddie Murphy is going to be in a biopic, be playing Parliament Funkadelic's George Clinton in a biopic. Dreamgirl directors Bill Condon is directing this. It's going to be on Amazon. Amazon Prime, probably MGM Studios. I don't know much besides the songs of George Clinton, besides seeing him in different movies throughout the years. Eddie Murphy, I have not seen Dreamgirls, movie I do want to see. It's on my list, in fact, on the bottom of our notes. Eventually I do want to watch that, but interested in that. I love biopics, so we'll have to wait and see. They released some character posters for Nosferatu. Comes out in like a month and a half, 2 months. Robert Eggers, of course. We've got Lily Allen James, Lily James, whatever her name is. That's Johnny Depp's daughter. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah, that's it. Whatever it was, I can't remember what it was. Willem Dafoe. I don't know who that is in the middle, and what's his name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Nicholas Hoult. Bill Skarsgård playing Nosferatu too. So very excited for this. I kind of know what I'm getting into now that I watched The Witches. I kind of see his style, so I kind of can see that same style being brought into this movie as well. We talked about, I think last year, that they were going to be making a Cliffhanger movie, a remake, and it was going to be kind of like a sequel, going to star Sylvester Stallone. He was attached to it. Well, now he's no longer going to star in that. He dropped out of it. And Lily James and Pierce Brosnan have been added to that cast with a new director. I don't know why Sly dropped out of it. I know he's doing that TV show, Tulsa King. I know he dropped out of one of the last Expendable movies too. So I don't know if people just don't like working with him. Didn't he have problems with Creed too? Was it Creed 3 he had issues with too? Behind the scenes, I don't remember the exact story, but I don't know if I want to see a Cliffhanger without Sylvester Stallone. It would be the only reason I would want to see it. But big news today is Game of Thrones, a movie, is in early development at Warner Brothers.
I don't know how they can pull that off.
Right, taking place after the series, I'm guessing, right? That's kind of what they're hinting to. It's going to be continuing the Game of Thrones series. I don't know how they're going to pull it off either. This is originally going to be probably Jon
way
Snow.
Too elaborate. Those stories are way too elaborate for a 2.5 hour movie. Like if they made
like an extended episode.
Movie, if they made the first book a movie, it would have been a trilogy just off the first book. So
right, I don't know what kind of story they could tell, but we got the couple of first glimpses of it. Welcome to Derry. It came out yesterday. I only have the title card here. I don't have the other photos. I think they're photos that may have already been out already, but. Excited for this. Comes out on HBO, I believe, in the beginning of the year. I can't remember the exact date on that, but excited for that. Also today, got some casting news on Pinocchio Unstrung. This is in the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey universe, the Poohniverse, if you will. Adding Freddy Krueger actor Robert Englund and Rob Zombie regular Richard Blake to the cast. And Blake is going to be playing Geppetto. And we also got the first pictures of what this Pinocchio is going to look like, and they're going to be using practical effects with a computer-controlled animation, robotic animation. That's the one on the right there. Looks very weird, very menacing.
Looks creepy as hell.
Creepy as fuck. So yeah. What we got? Oh, today. They released this silhouette picture of Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat 2, coming out a year from now. I'm excited for this movie. I cannot wait to see the rest of the cast, and I want to see a first trailer for this somewhere in the middle of next year. I hope we can see that. John Larroquette has been talking a lot about Shrek 5 and how he wants to have a potential return to the franchise. You have not watched the first Shrek, correct?
Correct.
Which we will be doing because you need to see the first Shrek. It's one of my favorite animated movies, especially DreamWorks. Shrek 5. I don't want to get into the spoiler, but yeah, he definitely wants to come back as Lord Farquaad, who he does a great job playing him, in that he's a menacing, evil dictator of this world, and you find out he's probably like 3 foot tall. It's great. And he steals the magic mirror on the wall and tries to get it to talk to him, and the mirror talks shit to him. It's great. We're gonna be watching Shrek soon. A new movie called Assassination, about the JFK conspiracy, directed by Barry Levinson, starring Jessica Chastain, Brendan Fraser, Bryan Cranston, and Al Pacino. Great cast. Film follows a journalist who suspects Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone and sets out to find the real killer of JFK. We always hear about that story. Was there another shooter? The Zapruder film, all that stuff. I'm interested. It's a great cast. Bryan Cranston, Al Pacino, Brendan Fraser has been great lately. Jessica Chastain, all great actors. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with that. Jon Stewart has extended his deal as a Daily Show host until December of 2025. He's supposed to be, I think, until the end of this year. He's going to go through the election coverage, but he's been hosting on Monday nights and doing great numbers for the Daily Show, and not compared to what it was back in the day, but big enough numbers to keep him on for another year. And he's of course still executive producer of the show now. So that's cool. I haven't watched it lately, but. Jumanji 3 sets an official date in December of 2026 for December 11th, and bringing back probably all the original cast: Kevin Hart, The Rock, Jack Black, Kieran Gillen. First two were okay. I think a little bit too late in time. Of course, the first one was classic with Robin Williams, but they made a lot of money, ton of money, so that's why they're doing it. Netflix has set a date for December 10th for Jamie Foxx's next stand-up special, where he's going to talk about what happened to him, called What Had Happened Was. It's going to be a comedy hour. He had a medical emergency last year, left him hospitalized. Still no information on what that was, but when he was fighting for his life. But he's going to be tackling that in that special, some other stuff of his life that's been going on. So, I may be interested to watch that. Announced today, the people who made Godzilla Minus One have officially greenlit a sequel from the director of that blockbuster that came out last year that everybody raves about. We've raved about it. I believe I gave it a 5 out of 5, but they did greenlight. I don't know if it's a sequel set in the same universe. Didn't really say what it was. Same director coming back, of course, but excited for that. We got the very first look at Barry Keoghan in the Peaky Blinders movie. Very excited for that too. I need to catch up on that show, that last season. But speaking of Squid Game earlier, David Fincher is developing a series in American version of Squid Game, English language. Kind of interested about that. I'm interested to watch the Netflix version now and see. We'll have to wait. I haven't talked a lot about James Franco lately because he got canceled. However, he came out this week, talked to it in a Variety article, saying if he's been talking to Seth Rogen. Of course, they've been friends for years, 20 years or so. And all of a sudden just stopped when he got canceled. Seth Rogen stopped talking to him. He didn't talk to him. He says, I haven't talked to Seth. I love Seth. We had 20 great years together, but guess it's over. And not lack for trying. The only thing I remember was he was like a substitute teacher at a acting school. And he would sexually harass, not only sexually harass the students, but I think some of them he actually, not necessarily raped, but kind of groomed into being into a relationship of sorts with him. That's the only thing I remember hearing about that whole thing. But I like James Franco. I like him as an actor. I like the movies I've seen in him. Of course, he's been in a couple of my favorite things, Freaks and Geeks, and Pineapple Express, and all the Seth Rogen movies that he did throughout the years. But it's sad to see a lot of people that we love get canceled, but hey, it is what it is. I didn't have the picture of it. I forgot to grab it. But Art the Clown opened up the NASDAQ closing bell yesterday. I forgot to look up the picture. I forgot to look up the picture of it, but yeah, and I know you want me to see Terrifier 3. Have you talked about that on the podcast yet? You haven't yet,
No. I'll probably talk about it during Christmas if you don't want to watch it. That's fine. I can do it alone.
Okay, we'll hold on. We'll hold off on it. You did watch it this week, but we'll hold off on that. The Grammys. Notoriously has been on CBS since 1973. Is officially moving to Disney outlets, ABC, probably Disney Plus, I'm sure, starting in 2027. First time in 50 years. So yeah, it's a pretty big move. Of course, I bet you that has to do a lot with streaming, more than anything else. To be on Disney Plus, a lot more eyes are going to be able to see it. So Grammys not as exciting as the Oscars. Music now is just kind of bland, but yeah. Michael Cera, of course, was in Superbad. He was in Edgar Wright's first movie. The first movie was with Edgar Wright, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Reuniting with Edgar Wright to be in a new movie, The Running Man. Another person added to that cast with Glenn Powell. Very excited about that movie. And I do like Edgar Wright. I think he's a great director. I think I've seen almost all of his movies. I've seen his TV show too. That was great. Spaced. That was a great show too. But yeah. And also added to that cast, I forgot I added this to the list. William H. Macy also added to that cast. Yep. Just watched Shameless this year. So you got Glenn Powell, Josh Brolin, Katie O'Brien, I don't know who that is, Lee Pace, he's a great actor, Michael Cera, great loaded cast for that movie. Lee Pace could be our new Batman. Really? I haven't heard that, but he would be perfect for that. Announced today, weird, I've never seen this movie. A sequel in the early works with Tom Cruise set to return of Days of Thunder. I don't know. I've never seen that movie. I don't know much about it. What can you tell me about Days of Thunder? Is it a decent movie?
It's a racing
Tom
movie.
Cruise.
It took place in the 80s. Okay. Yeah, it was good. Back in the day, I used to like that movie a lot. I used to have a video game for Nintendo, also.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna talk about Alien. Some weird shit happened this week. Of course, I think we talked about it last week. They're going to be making the sequel, bringing back the Alien Romulus cast for that. But also other news came out this week. We're going to bring up now. Future Alien versus Predator movies with Prey and Romulus character are being teased by 20th Century Fox. They're trying to get the money for this to bring bridge those two universes together. And the other thing that came out today is Ridley Scott is developing a new Alien movie, seemingly separate from Romulus. What are your feelings on that? We just talked about Aliens recently. What are your thoughts on Ridley Scott? You think he'll come back and direct something? Tell a separate story? Or are they talking about Romulus sequel here? What's going on here with Ridley Scott?
I hope it's better than Prometheus, the second Prometheus one, Covenant.
Yeah.
I hope it's better than that if he does come back, and if he does, he might as well just finish off that trilogy.
Okay, that would make sense.
I would just let Fede Alvarez take care of it and not worry about
that movie. Yeah. I was just looking at my ranking of those. I was just looking at my ranking of those movies. It skyrocketed for me to the top of that list of Alien movies. And first Alien is a fucking fantastic movie, but Alien Romulus, just the way that movie hit me, it was perfect to me. And Alien's another great movie. The first two Aliens movies, but Billy Zane, whatever he's doing, playing Marlon Brando in this fucking biopic, it's incredible. It's just the way he changed himself to look. It looks like Marlon Brando, but that's Billy Zane there. This movie's called Waltzing with Brando, talking about the actor as he prepares to not only star in The Godfather, but The Last Tango in Paris. It's going to be coming out in a film festival next month, so we'll be hearing more about this in the coming months here, but seeing what's going on. But he looks amazing. Oregon Trail, video game, computer game we played growing up in school, played on the computer in school. A film is in development at Apple, and don't know much more about it, but yeah, coming to the big screen, Oregon Trail. If you want to get dysentery, watch it. Nintendo has a thing about announcing weird products, weird things. This week is no exception. They announced a new Nintendo Music service, a smart device app that lets you stream or download music from Nintendo's library of soundtracks, including Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, Metroid, a whole bunch of other stuff in between. Some sort of a streaming thing. Not really sure much more than that, but I'm not even sure if it's going to cost money. No idea. no idea at all. But Nintendo is weird. They had that alarm clock that I was like, what the fuck is this? Then I actually saw the trailer and wanted it. So, yeah, I don't know. Coming out in a couple weeks, I know you're excited about it. Cobra Kai released a new poster for Part 2 coming out on November 15th on Netflix. I love trailer. I like posters like this with all the characters on there. It looks fairly cool. Don't know anything about it other than the first Karate Kid movie. Probably should watch those, I'm guessing, before I get into the movie that comes out next year. But yeah, Cobra Kai season part 2 of the final season. That's separated into 3 parts, right? And then the third part comes out in January or something like that.
They haven't announced it, but they think January, February.
Okay. A weird announcement. The Wayans brothers are coming back to the Scary Movie franchise that they created back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Marlon Wayans posted a picture on his Instagram with him and their version of the smiley ghost face, saying that the Wayans brothers are back, and then it was later announced that him, Marlon, and Keenen Ivory are coming back, and they're all going to be part. Keenen Ivory, I think, directed the first one, or at least wrote it. Of course, I love the Wayans brothers. In Living Color, better than SNL in my opinion. Back in the day, only lasted 5 seasons. Only lasted 3 seasons with the Wayans because they didn't want to pay them, so they end up leaving. But yeah, very excited about that. I don't think we've talked much about Neil Gaiman and all these sexual allegations of assault that he did behind the scenes, and how a lot of his projects are getting canceled, including, come to find out, Dead Boy Detectives, which I was pretty high on the beginning of the year, middle of the year, got canceled at Netflix, and they're saying one of the reasons for that was because of these allegations coming to light. The one show that has not been canceled, that's still in that universe, The Sandman, it's huge for Netflix. That show did great numbers for them. Season 2 is still coming out. I'm not sure if it'll be picked up for a season 3 or not, but Good Omens, another show based off of his work, comic book writer, of course. Coming out with a 3rd final season. However, the episode's only going to be 1 episode, not a whole season, and he's been completely taken off of production. No consultation of that season whatsoever. But yeah, Good Omens. I do want to see that. It's got David Tennant and I can't remember, Michael Sheen, whatever his name is, in that too. Marvel is fleshing out the life of Kylo Ren in a comic book series called The Legacy of Vader, Star Wars The Legacy of Vader. Don't know much more about that other than what I saw in the article, but Moana 2 coming out the end of the month, of course. Talk about the popcorn buckets, some weird ones here. We got a nacho boat. Moana's nacho boat. And we also got a popcorn container, another tin and dome popcorn glass cup. Weird merch. This is a weird time to be going to a movie theater fan, with all these weird, unique popcorn buckets being debuted from the first Dune one to, of course, Deadpool, and now this and Gladiator, the new one coming out too. But very strange part of marketing. Speaking of merch. Announced this week the 4K complete set of Seinfeld. Now, I know you have the box set of Seinfeld. I know you're a huge fan of Seinfeld. Any interest in this?
It comes with a digital code.
If it's not $200, I have no idea if it does or not. Especially if I'm
binge watching a show, I'm not going to get up and change the disc.
And plus, it's been remastered in 4K too. I mean, it'll look great, but I think the HD will look just fine for this show.
Yeah.
It's been out for 30 years now, so. I thought this was a great idea. Simpsons teaming up with the Chia Pet, which is still a thing, to do the meme of Homer coming out of the bushes. I thought this was a great idea. Great weird idea. Chia Pet was a weird thing that came out in the 80s into the 90s, where you just grow your own plants around these weird figures. Never had one.
Can't get a cat? Here, grow a plant cat.
Yep. Weird shit. The way they marketed those things, they're always in like Rite Aid and Walgreens, but so we finally got it. We finally got the full photos of the T-1000 Hot Toys figure. This awesome. Looks incredible, man. A lot of articulation, of course, and they're known for that, but the amount of hands and weapons and unique things that come with it, bullet holes, different head sculpts. You get one with a bullet hole through his right eye. It just looks incredible. You get the finger poke metal comes out of him. It just looks awesome. You get the hooks on his arms. Looks incredible. All lit up with LED lights too. You get the base that he goes on with the red lights coming out like they're in the metal factory at the end of the movie. Looks great. Hot Toys figure. I think it's on pre-order now. It looks awesome. Talking about some James Gunn news and some stuff that he's debunked this week. Debunked that Victoria Pedretti is going to play Harley Quinn in Matt Reeves' project. Also debunked a rumor that Dua Lipa has been cast in the DCU. But he also, 2 announcements came out of casting this week. One is from the Supergirl film, and we just read that comic book recently. Eve Ridley has been cast as Ruthie, who of course is the little girl that follows around Supergirl in that comic book. I'm still surprised, like, in 2025 or 2026, we're going to see a movie completely based off a comic book, and it's adapted from the comic book. You don't usually see that. You usually see like a story just briefly, like glimpsed in a comic book.
Like Civil War basically was based on the Civil War comic book, but it was really nothing like the Civil War comic book as far as why they were fighting and what was going on at the time. But
but to actually see a comic book adapted like this is crazy.
Straight up, yeah, it is.
And also announced Kelly MacDonald has joined the cast of Lanterns as a love interest to Hal Jordan. Don't know much about the character that she's playing, Sheriff Kelly, but I'm excited for that show as well. Probably more so than a lot of DC shows. I love Green Lantern. He's a great character. It just needs to be executed right. And I think the cast that they're building for this is outstanding. So you'll have to wait and see on that. So a couple of days before the Agatha trailer leaked, we got a whole trailer for the television slate of 2025 from Marvel. Brand new logos for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Brand new dates as well. Daredevil Born Again, Ironheart, Eyes of Wakanda, Marvel Zombies, new title card for Wonder Man. The next thing coming out at the beginning of the year, January 29th, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. We'll talk about all these one by one. Got the very first official look of Muse and a breakdown trailer for about 30 seconds of Daredevil Born Again. Also got Wilson Fisk in a kind of looking like a president behind the American flags, trying believe the rumors him running for mayor of New York City based off the comic book. This comes out March 4th. Also got first glimpses of Ironheart. Brand new armor for Ironheart. We got the red hood on top. We got Alden Ehrenreich. What's his name? Played Han Solo. Alden.
Aiden
I can't remember his name. That's it. Aiden Ehrenreich. Ironheart. Excited for that. Got brand new animation style for What If Season 3, which I believe is the last season for that. Comes out December 22nd. They announced that at the end of this year, next month. But the animation I was excited for, the Spider-Man show, looks incredible. Comes out the beginning of January, and is set kind of like first year Spider-Man. Him trying to find his powers, being in high school, building his own suit, of course. Not connected to anything MCU related, more comic book style. You definitely get that watching the animation from this. The shadows and everything looks really, really cool. And we're going to get Blade in the MCU, just not the way you expected. In the Marvel Zombies, Blade is going to be Moon Knight. It comes out in October of next year in 2025. Maybe we'll see Blade before then, who knows. But got the first official look for Eyes of Wakanda. Animation style, not reminiscent of anything really they've done. It's kind of weird. Reminds me a lot of maybe the Star Wars shows a little bit. Rebels and Clone Wars, but this comes out August 6th of next year on Disney Plus. And we got the first official look at Wonder Man. This comes out sometime in, I believe, December of next year, 2025. Announced that this is the first time this has been officially announced by Disney, by the way. They haven't marketed it at all in any of the Comic-Cons or anything. But what's his name? Ben Kingsley coming in as Trevor Slattery again, trying to help this actor who is trying to be Wonder. In the beginning of the trailer, the beginning of this clip that they show, he's trying to audition to be Wonder Man. And Trevor Slattery is, of course, an actor in the MCU who's going to be mentoring him. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. And they're going right comic book accurate for him as well. He looks just like him in the comic books. So, that's the full slate of next year. All the movies, all the TV shows, big loaded year. But like I said, they said they were going to be kind of simmering down the output a little bit, but this is also a catch-up year. Didn't get much this year because of the strikes that happened last year, so this is everything in 2025 is going to be the catch-up of everything that was been delayed over time. But where are we at? Oh, also in that sizzle reel, announced November 12th, just a couple weeks from now, Deadpool and Wolverine is coming to Disney Plus. If you've not seen it, if you want to watch that, if you don't own it. Also announced this week in an article that Ant-Man and the Wasp did not do well in the movie theaters. However, after all is said and done, it did turn a profit. About $88,000. I read that this week. This week I was like, wow, what a weak box office. However, the movie was weak to begin with. So, rumors are swirling that there is a revival of Spider-Man the Animated Series being discussed at Marvel Studios. And I said, like, when we watched X-Men 97 last year, I was saying, man, I want to see an animated series of this. It'd be awesome. So yeah, I'm hoping that it happens, but we'll have to wait and see. I think when I was a kid, I loved Spider-Man way more than the X-Men show. So, Deadpool and Wolverine book came out this week. For some reason, these are usually priced around $40. When Deadpool and Wolverine's art book came out, they priced it at $100. They added some lithographs in there, a whole bunch of other stuff, and a slip cover, but not worth $100, I believe. But we did get some cool art, including this one, where all the Avengers assembled into one Deadpool costume. You got Captain America, Hawkeye, you got Hulk in there, you got Black Widow, you got Iron Man, all of them all in one. Captain America, Thor. Very weird. I would have loved to see that on screen, played by Wade, but yeah, I want to get it, but I don't want to pay fucking $80 to $100 for that book. I'm gonna wait till it goes down in price. I do have almost all those art books, but so getting into the Spider-Man news, a lot of Spider-Man news this week, including breaking news last week, but we'll get into that in a minute. We got the first set photos of Spider-Man in costume for Spider-Man Noir, of course, starring Nicolas Cage, bringing back this character that he played in the Spider-Verse movies. Looks great. Kind of riding around in an old style car. I cannot wait to see how they're going to do this. I'm wondering if it's going to be black and white. I'm wondering how they're going to look, the aesthetic of the show is going to look. But yeah, the costume looks great. Looks just right out of the cartoon Spider-Verse movies. So, and finally in news, Spider-Man 4 has officially been giving a release date for July 24th, 2026. And he's doing the Christopher Nolan movie in the beginning of that month. So the year of Tom Holland, the summer of Tom Holland, it will be upon us in 2026. Still officially directed by Destin Daniel Craig. They announced that in the press release as well. And also some sort of a casting thing came out this week. I wanted to read it on here, but it came out of Sony, of course, Pascal Pictures. I believe it has something to do with casting. I'm not really sure, but I'll read what the synopsis on the bottom is. Following the events of Doomsday, Peter Parker is determined to lead a normal life and focus on college, stepping back from his responsibility as a Spider-Man. However, peace is short-lived when a deadly new threat emerges, endangering his friends and forcing Peter to reconsider his promise. With stakes higher than ever, Peter reluctantly returns to his Spider-Man identity to find himself teaming with an unlikely ally to protect those he loves. And Andrew Garfield and Robert Downey Jr. were listed as maybe joining the cast. And the rumored title for this movie, Spider-Man Brand New Day, based off the comic book. Talked a lot about it when No Way Home came out, that kind of was based off of that, where he talks to Doctor Strange or Mephisto about making the world forget that he's Spider-Man. And that's what that comic book run is called, Brand New Day. So it would make sense if that's what this new movie's titled. No idea who this person he could be teaming up with, the unlikely ally, but yeah, very excited. That's it for the show. That's it for news. Next week, we're going to talk about Penguin Episode 7, Shrinking Episode 5. You're going to talk about the last 2 episodes, Episode 5 and 6 of Superman and Lois.
Yep.
We have procured Joker Folie à Deux. So I'm going to be talking about a rewatch for Joker. And I'm going to be reviewing, finally, Joker Folie à Deux next week as well. Coming out in theaters, the Here movie, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Robin Wright and Tom Hanks. Probably not going to go see that, but it does come out in theaters next week. And basketball movie, He Got Game, starring Denzel Washington. We're going to watch that next week. And also going to watch, excited for the John Williams documentary on Disney Plus, came out today. We're going to be talking all about that next week. So thank you, everyone. And we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Deuces.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you. Talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds. Rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blurred. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest scoop and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain, bringing you the best in geekdom, it's our domain.